Crystal Davis. Thank you for joining me once again today. I'm very excited about this show because, you know, there's always new beginnings, new year, new beginnings. So this is coming towards the end of the Proverbs 31 passage. And to start off, I would just like to say thank you so much for those who have been with me throughout this show, throughout this year. It has been awesome, and all my guests and presenters and, you know, artists and everything. Thank you so much for coming out. I really do appreciate you all, and I can't wait to share with you all what I have in store. But just to give a little background, this is an inspirational talk show geared towards young women and youth, empowering them to live life, really, and to inspire, to give health and fitness tips, wellness, beauty from the inside and out. So all ages, guys, y'all are welcome to watch too as well. But just to let you know, this is a Proverbs 31 woman-based show, so I like to start off with a few verses. But since we are at the end of this passage, we will be going over the last verse today. And today's verse is Proverbs 31, verse 31, and it states, "Give her the reward she has earned, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate." Reading the Virtuous Woman passage and breaking it down from a spiritual perspective shows a lot of insight that as women we need to take into consideration. This last verse makes me think about when we see our Father in heaven, what will He think of me and the work I've done for Him on this earth? Will my reward be something worth praising, or will it be something mediocre? To have praise as you enter His gates should be the goal for you. When you reflect on what you have done on earth, think of what you have done for Him. Read the entire Virtuous Woman passage, Proverbs 31, verses 10 through 31. Do you fit these characteristics and possess these qualities? If not all, but some. I know being in this world, it can be hard to uphold to these standards, and I know that we struggle every day to being that virtuous woman of God. I know I have things that I need to work on, and it's okay. God sees us for who we truly are, whether it's our works are big or small. He sees it all, and when you proactively live out for Christ, He sees it no matter what. With me in the studio right now, I have none other than DJ radio personality and television host Megan Bowie, who is also known as DJ BRyte. In an industry dominated by men, BRyte has a passion for making people dance. She is absolutely gorgeous, and I love her hair, like seriously love it. BRyte is one of the most in-demand DJs in the country. She's from Virginia and represents her state as she continues to build her name in several markets across the country. She has DJed for many artists, including K. Michelle, Mario, Naughty by Nature, The Game, and Natalie Kills. The girl is everywhere, and you may have heard her on one of our local radio stations, 97.9 The Box, where she DJs during the late night hype. But the whole twist about this is she also is a digital content producer. So enough about me talking. Let's hear all about it from her. Okay, we are here in the studio with DJ BRyte. She is here, you all. She is so phenomenal. I'm telling you, her story is amazing. You're going to love everything that you're about to hear from her, and just her personality in general. So right now, first, before we get even started, I have to know, how did this all happen? How did this all begin? What was the passion?
Well, I've always loved music, and I really, really, really wanted to be a singer. Like, so bad. Like, I was like, I'm gonna be this famous singer. I'm gonna be the next Mariah Carey. You know, my hair was flowing. I was like, I'm gonna be a singer, dancer. You know what? Even though Mariah can't dance, but you know, I was like, whatever. That's what I'm gonna do. So I even went as far as asking my aunt. I was like, you know, any Christmas, birthdays, whatever. I was like, you know, I want the whole audio set. I wanted to be able to record at home. I was like, home studio on it. I thought everything was gonna be great. So one day, someone told me that I couldn't sing.
What?
I said, are you serious? Like, y'all just gonna let me go on and do this for how long? And then I finally told I can't sing. And then from what my understanding was, no comment on this, but they say my dance skills weren't much better. So I was like, okay, now what am I gonna do? Like, I really want to do music. And then I heard about a school called Full Sail. So I wanted to go there to do music, but it was just so expensive that I didn't, you know, think, you know, how could I do that? Right. So I went to college, and I actually went to college really early. I started college when I was 16. And when you're 16, you can't get, well, you shouldn't be in the club. So I had never been to the club before. But when you're in college, they just assume that you're 18. And if not, you use your college ID to get into any parties.
Yeah.
So I remember I went to my first party and I walked in and I saw the DJ and I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay. And so when you saw that DJ, like, was it his style? Was it his mix? Or what was it that really got you? Like...
I think what it was it kind of, like, what it seemed to me was, okay, there's this one guy or girl, but at the time it was a guy, and his job basically was to make people have a good time.
Right.
Like, he was using music, and then people were coming to these parties forgetting any worries, anything that they had, and were just coming to have a good time. And it was pretty much his responsibility to do that. So when I'm watching him play these different songs and seeing, you know, how the crowd was reacting and how happy people were, and it was like all their worries were out the door, I was like, you know, that's what I want to do.
Right.
And so that's, you know, and what happened with him, you know, when you're in college, you're broke for the most part. But I was an independent student, so I had to have a job. So I worked at a sneaker store, and, you know, I called him one day and I was like, look, I really want to DJ. And girls always say, I want to be a DJ, I want to be a DJ. So he didn't really take me seriously.
Right.
But I said, I want to DJ, you know, can I come use your equipment? And he's like, sure, but you got to, you know, what you gonna give me for it? I didn't have much, but, you know, when you're in college, you're hungry, you don't really cook. So I went to Wendy's, and I would always bring him Wendy's chicken nuggets in exchange to use his turntables. And that's, you know, that's how it all started.
That's how it all started. Okay, so now I know he kind of helped inspire you, but what were some other people maybe, or other DJs that inspired you even more as your journey began, you know, as you continued?
Well, I was really fortunate. I feel like you're only as good as the people that you're around. So if you're around people that, you know, are amazing, brilliant, super talented, it's going to inspire you to be either just as good or better than they are. So the area I was in was full of amazing, amazing DJs. So not only was I, you know, inspired and working with them, but then I was really close to New York because I'm from Virginia. So in New York was, you know, nothing, well, when I was living there, I was living in Norfolk, so it's like a 6-hour drive, but where I'm from, it's really like a 4-hour drive. So I saw DJs like, you know, Coco Chanel and Beverly Bond, and they're both women in the industry who were not just good for a girl, they were talented DJs, period. So I definitely looked up to them and was like, okay, that's what I want to do, especially Beverly Bond, because she took the DJing and turned it into like an entire empire. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of Black Girls Rock, but that's her thing. So she does... you know, she's a DJ, you know, she does modeling, she does, you know, events and inspirational stuff, and she's just an all-around, you know, inspiration. So when so I would look at her and look at what she did with her career and how she evolved, and I said, okay, you know, that's what I want to do.
And after seeing all that, you know, how did you get into your first gig?
How was
that for you?
See, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do yet. I'm like, okay, I'm learning how to DJ. And everybody's doing clubs, so I'm like, okay, I gotta get in these clubs. Now, what I saw was that when these college DJs, if they're DJing on these college campuses, eventually they're gonna graduate and they're gonna go somewhere else. So then what happens to your fan base? You know, people that are in college are from all parts of, you know, the country. So when they go somewhere else, now they have to reestablish them, whether they go home or what they decide to do. So instead of being that college DJ, I decided to take my talents locally. So I wasn't doing the cute pajama jams and the, you know, and stuff in the studio center that often. I was really focused on things that were in the community or locally. So then I would have like a home base. So I, you know, pretty much just started doing clubs and things like that, and would go to the owners and say, hey, just give me a shot. And they would look at me like I was crazy. And then nobody knew how old I was, because you're technically supposed to be in the club. You're supposed to be like 18, 21 at most part. I was like 17, you know, opening up. A guy that I actually considered my brother, his name is DJ Mr. Nice, and he used to let me open up for him in these events. And then I just go in and do what I can and kind of like, you know, rock out. And eventually people stopped, because I would be doing clubs or walking in to talk to the owner, and they would just automatically assume that I was like trying to be a bartender or something. They never envisioned like, oh, she's DJ. They would assume, are you the new bartender? No, I'm the DJ.
Right, I'm the DJ.
You know, so people would say things, well, you're going to get a job because you're a girl. And I'm like, somebody might you know, give me a shot or be intrigued by it, but it's up to me for me to keep the job. So if I'm not talented, then there's no way that I'm going to be able to step up, because at the end of the day, the club's going to, you know, lose money. So my first, I'll never forget it. It was this place called the Peppermint Beach Club, and it was right on the Strip in Virginia Beach, and it was this like small little place, and that was probably the first time that I ever DJ'd like at a club, and then it might have been like maybe 2 years later before I did a night by myself. Like I was opening up, which is like really good for DJs, because if you're opening up for somebody else, you're learning to play all this music that is not necessarily what's in or what's super popular right now, but you need to know how to entertain a crowd without playing the top 10 songs. And I will never forget the first club I did by myself. I must have DJed for like 7 hours, and I got paid like $150, $200. I thought I had made it. I was like, I am in there. This is great, you know. And then I went from there to working in radio. The local station at the time did like a mass layoff, which is what they do sometimes. And then they started looking for new talent. And the program director had heard about me because I was doing all these clubs locally.
All over.
So they called me in, and I didn't know what I was doing at all. And that's when I realized, and I still use like this philosophy to this day, if you don't know what you're doing, just pretend. Because you're the only person that doesn't know that you don't know what you're doing. So if you pretend to know what you're doing, then they will think you know what you're doing, and then you'll be fine. So I just pretended like I knew how to be on the radio, and I ended up getting the job. And my first gig was morning show radio. So I was a morning show host. And then I thought, now what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And then it led me to meeting all these artists, because, you know, artists come in for the morning show.
Yes.
And then that's when I started convincing artists to let me DJ for them.
Okay. Now, I really want to ask, now with your age, because you were so young, how did that go for you? Like when people, did it ever come to a point where people would be like, how old are you? Or,
Yes.
you know, like be so amazed, like, wow, you're so young and so talented, you know, because at any age, you know, all of you all out there, look, 16 years old. So it's like, what was that experience like for you?
I don't think it really hit people until I had a 21st birthday party, and they were like,
what?
Now you're 21? We've known you for how long? And then the bouncers were like, we've been hitting on you for how long? No, I'm just kidding. and now you're just turning 21. I think that's kind of, you know, when it hit. But I think I was very fortunate to start. I mean, I know a lot of people start earlier than me, but I was fortunate to start at that age, but then be around a lot of like seasoned, you know, DJs. So then I had to catch up quickly. So then I was like thrown into the mix, but it has its pros and cons, because now as I'm getting older, I'm always trying to like reinvent myself, because I feel like I spend so much time doing certain things that I'm now like, okay, now like what's the next adventure?
Thing.
Yeah.
So now with people that helped you as far as your journey, what were some tactics or some things that they would tell you as far as like whenever you would practice, you know, to get better? Because of course, you know, practice makes perfect, but it's just, what were some things that they told you that kept you going, that kept you keep pushing?
I was right at that edge where people went from using vinyl to using everything being put on a computer. So a lot of the old school DJs did not have respect for a lot of the computer DJs, because they went from, you know, carrying crates and having to build up their music collection to all of a sudden everything can just be put on one hard drive. So I was right at that era when things like were changing over. And when I was learning how to blend, which is, you know, playing two songs, you know, at the same time, and pleasurable to the ear, of course, you know, and I learned off of vinyl, but then when I was using my computer, you know, you can see the waveforms. And that's what a lot of DJs do now. It's like they're not really listening for the music, they're watching. So they'll watch to see things match up. And that could have been me. That could have been me just, let me see, you know, if I can match it up. And then I wasn't really listening. So the guy that I consider my brother, he would, anytime I would be at the club, and anytime he would see me looking at the computer, he would kick me in the back of the kneecap. And so I'm like, you know, 17 years old, 18 years old, at this club, you know, terrified as it is, trying to like, I'm afraid that I'm gonna clear the dance floor and they're never gonna hire me again. And all I'm trying to do is play this stuff together. And here he is kicking me every 2 songs. I was like in tears, but to be honest, that helped me so much because I'm a real DJ.
Right.
And I can take that with me. Like I earned and I deserve that title. I can DJ without looking at the screen.
Right.
So I learned from great people and I learned the old school way. So I can forever, you know, take that with me. And now I'm confident. Something was to break, I'd be perfectly fine.
Right.
I can go, you know.
See, and that's just beautiful because it's a lot of things like when people, you know, they struggle with, and then it's like you always have that one person that's going to push you to the edge. But it's like I think about people that have helped me, and I'm just like, okay, I'm to a point where I'm like anal about stuff.
Right.
And it's just like, man, I get this from, you know, so-and-so that helped me back when I was like in high school. And I'm just like, it all is very retentional. So those people that really tell you and like help you out is not to put you down, it's not to break you down, but it's really they're there to help you and build you up. So don't ever think that the people that are around you are trying to, you know, hinder you from doing anything. It's all to make you better.
That's 100% true. I was in tears. I'm like, how are you doing this to me? You're ruining everything. I'm just trying to concentrate. I would be in tears. But now I look at it like I'm so grateful that I learned the right way and I learned the hard way, but I got it right because there's nobody that can look at me and say and speak downly like on any of my skills or anything like that because I can do it the right way, you know, and I was taught to do it the right way.
And we talked about some of the celebrities that you have been able to DJ for. So can you tell us just how that was, or who was your first celebrity that you got a DJ for?
I have a first celebrity that I DJ'd for, and then I have a first artist that I went on tour with.
Okay.
First celebrity that I DJ'd for, it was completely by accident. And again, I feel like, see, I'm one of those people who feels like everything that I've done was for a reason. Like I feel like God put me in certain situations so that I'm prepared for my next task, right? So I learned how to DJ properly. I learned how to, you know, listen to music, which was great because I was DJing a friend's party. I think I was in Brooklyn, New York. I can't remember. It was a friend that I went to college with, and he just had a party, and his aunt knew a lot of industry people. All of a sudden, Naughty by Nature shows up, right? And they want to do this impromptu performance. But they wanted me to, it's going to be a little hard to explain, but they wanted me to make a TV track live while I was DJing. So they didn't have any of their music. Right. Mind you, I was like 19, 20. I really like the whole opening up for artists really helped me because I learned a lot of old school music, a lot of music that, I come from a biracial family. My mom was not listening to Naughty by Nature at all. So I didn't know a lot of that music, but you know, from spending all that time opening up and learning, I learned a lot of old school music. Wow. I didn't mess up. I was so proud of myself. And I'm like, and I never DJ'd for an artist. So this is not only my first time DJing for artists, but then I'm like making songs like while I'm DJing, and I didn't mess up. And I was so ecstatic. And then again, that was one of the situations where I was like, they're like, can you do this? I'm like, yeah, I can do this. I had no idea what I was doing, but I pulled it off. So that was the first artist that I ever DJ'd for. Now, the first artist I ever went on tour with was Marie. Marie was at the radio station, and I interviewed her, and I'm queen of, you got a DJ? You got a DJ anytime somebody walk in? You got a DJ? Knowing I have a full-time job, and I don't really need to be going anywhere, but I'm like, you got a DJ? She goes, well, kind of, but that'd be kind of cool to have a female DJ. And I'm like, call me, girl, call me. So like I wrote, you know, gave my information to her and her manager, and then they called me. And next thing you know, I was on the road with Marie.
Man, that is exciting.
Yeah, it's super exciting.
Oh my gosh. What were some of, I guess, I would say like the challenges? You know, you're a woman, so I know you came across a lot of things as you progressed and, you know, moving out here as well, and then even being at home. So what were some of those challenges, and how did you handle some of those situations? This
is actually my 5th or 6th city.
Wow.
Houston. The challenges, there's always been challenges. At the beginning, it was because I was a woman. It benefited me, but it also hurt me because nobody knew who I was. Nobody cared who I was. I was the new girl. I would get into situations with promoters and club owners, and they would treat me a certain way that they wouldn't treat a male DJ because I was a woman. Like, oh, you don't want to go out with me, you don't want to date me, okay, well, you're fired. You know, things like that. Like, I used to deal with that. But then as I started establishing myself, and, you know, always tried to, I was raised a certain way, so I'm going to carry myself with respect. And that's very important. And that's something that I always, like, whenever I talk to, you know, young women, and especially those that are aspiring to, you know, be in the industry, you have to carry yourself with respect, because if you don't respect yourself, they're not going to respect you. And it's very important, you know, the industry might be big, but it's very small. So it's very, very important, you know, that you know, no matter what, you're always carrying yourself and handling yourself with respect, because, you know, down the line, it's all going to circle along and come back to you. And pretty much, I can tell you, the people, I've been DJing for 10 years now. I still talk to and see a lot of those same industry people that knew me when I had just started. Even though being a woman, it benefited me, it definitely was a challenge. But then as I became more established, it was more so I started to have like an internal challenge of what did I want to do? Like, what do I want to do with myself? And I knew I was in a small market. Like, radio is rated similar to how TV is, and I believe there's like 275, 280 markets. I was in a top 50 market, but I knew for what I wanted to do, I needed to be in a top 10 market. So once I had established myself in Virginia, I'm like, the only way that I'm going to get there is if I move. So I just packed my bags and I moved to Miami. Wow. Literally, like one day I was like, I'm just going. Yeah. I quit my job. My boss, who was my mentor, he had a heart attack and he died. So he was somebody who had like brought me into the game, and it was really hard for me to deal with. And then I just would think about things that he told me, and you know, he said, you know, you're gonna be big one day. You know, but you got to go for it. And so I literally went in there. I used a week of my vacation to go to Miami to go see if I liked it. And then right after I got back from my vacation, I quit my job and I just packed, put all my stuff in a car, and drove 17, 18 hours to Miami.
Wow. Being in Miami.
Struggle.
It was a struggle.
It was a struggle. And I learned from that. It's like everywhere I go, I learned. Because by the time I got to Miami, I had a decent resume. I was 23, maybe 22, 23. I had done radio. Was mixing every day. You know, I have been on tour with A. Marie, K. Michelle. This was before K. Michelle got big. I was touring with her. I was on tour. I've been on tour with The Game. You know, I had done all kinds of stuff. But then I went to Miami and went there pretending like I was a nobody. You know, because I was like, instead of moving to a new city and realizing, girl, you got this resume behind you, you go in there and you know, you do your thing. I went in there like I was still trying to prove myself. So when you put that out there, that's how other people are going to look at you. So it was basically like I went to Miami and had to start over. I had to start over, and that was, you know, definitely a struggle. But again, it taught me things. Even though I was still young, I was looking at 10 years from now. Like, do I want to be in these clubs 10 years from now? And then I look at the way, you know, clubs are turning, and, you know, people, it's not always the safest environment. And then even if it is, it's like, you know, clubs get shut down left and right, you know, promoters and things like that. Do I want to be relying on this for the rest of my life? So I was having like an internal challenge, an internal struggle, like what do I want to do with myself? And before I continue to put myself in situations, like I need to cut out all the things I don't want to do and then start focusing really heavy on the things that I do want to do. And I knew that I wanted to do television. Yeah. So that's when I was in Miami is when I realized, okay, you want to do TV? So if you keep working in these clubs, you're going to make all this fast cash, and then you're not going to focus as hard on what you know you really want to do because you're making all this money. So I stopped. You just stopped. The only thing that was, you know, being thrown in my face was reality TV. I didn't know if it was a good fit for me. I don't think I would be where I am now. If I would have taken, because I wanted to be on TV so bad, I almost took any opportunity. But then I sat back and I realized, and I'm like, okay, that might not be. Right. It had to be what you wanted, you know, what you wanted to do. Is that where your hosting and television hosting started? No, not yet. It's still, I still struggle. I still struggle for a little bit because I was in Miami, and although a lot of people thought that I was Hispanic, I don't speak a lick of Spanish. And in Miami, there are so many Hispanic people that it's almost a requirement. Like, and if not, you definitely will get picked over somebody who is bilingual because it's almost necessary. I met a lot of people there, and then that was my first major market experience, so it was great. But I realized, you know, it's time to move again. And then I got offered a job to be a program or assistant program director an hour north in West Palm Beach.
Okay.
So I moved there.
Okay.
Right. And then that was one of those things. And then I was thinking, you know, here I am doing this thing again that I shouldn't be doing. Like, I know what I want to do, but I'm taking a job on something that I don't want to do because it's comfortable. And that whole thing, like, you know, your success is like one step outside of your comfort zone is very true, because here I am still taking the same, mind you, it's a great job, but it's not what I want to do. So I got to move again.
Right.
So then I moved to DC.
And then what happened there at DC?
When I was in DC, I actually was at our, because, you know, I work for Radio 1 now, so I was at our sister station in DC.
Okay.
And my goal behind DC was, this makes perfect sense, because I am none but a train ride to New York. I can, you know, go on interviews and do things in New York, and I can work in radio in DC, because, you know, I look at Ryan Seacrest's career, and that's amazing to me. Ryan Seacrest, Nick Cannon, like, they do amazing things, and that's where I want my career to be. I want to be able to do TV and television and, you know, radio at the same time.
Yeah,
so I'm thinking, this is a perfect place to be, but it just didn't, something wasn't connecting people that had been on that station for so long and had, you know, proven success rate for years, that there was really no space for me. I got to be uncomfortable, so what is my next step? And then I'm talking to a lady named Terry Thomas, and I have known Terry actually 3 years prior to that, because Terry, I got introduced to her when she was looking for a midday, but I had just moved to Miami.
Right.
So I said, you know, thank you, but, you know, I just moved to Miami. I got to, you know, school and everything like that, but let's stay in contact. And then, you know, she said, you know, Houston's a great place. I had never in a million years thought that I would ever end up in Texas. It was just, I always thought LA, New York, that's where I would be. I never thought Texas. Like, I'd been to Texas on tour, but never spent like, you know.
Right, like been here.
Yeah, like Texas, like what am I going to, Texas, you know? And then I looked and I'm like, oh, it's a top 10 TV market. It's top 6, you know, radio. She's like, you know, you can come, you know, you can DJ. I don't personally know anybody, you know, in TV, but we have a lot of affiliates, so you never know. Exactly. And I said, hey, another adventure, let's go. You know?
So how was that transition when you were coming here to Houston? Because you said Terry had a lot to do with that. So how was that transition coming here, you know, and then being here at the radio
By then, now I'm used to it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so used to it, because, you know, when I was doing the touring thing, I was living out of a suitcase for like 2 years. Like, I went to Europe. I was in Europe for like 6 months.
Oh, gosh,
like, I was doing
everywhere.
So I'm like, by now it's just like, let's go to the next thing. We're good. Let's go. And I just looked at it as another adventure. And then she brought me out here on a site visit, and I was like, oh, the food is great. I'm down. Let's do it. So I got here, and, you know, I'm doing radio. And again, love radio. We'll always do radio. But I want to do television. So don't get sidetracked, Megan, is what I would tell myself. That's my real name.
Oh, yes, Megan is her name.
Don't get sidetracked. Don't get down there, you know, and do the radio thing and then get sidetracked and don't, you know, do what you know you want to do and what your purpose is for being there. So I let it marinate for about like 2 weeks. And then I just, you know, went back into that sales pit. You know, Terry was like, you know, some people, there's somebody knows somebody, and somebody did. And they, you know, knew somebody over at a TV station that I'm working at. And, you know, they said, you know, we don't have a job opening now, but, you know, we can go and meet. So, you know, I interviewed, finally something opened up, interviewed. And then finally, you know, something happened, and it's definitely a
and it's working for you.
Dream opportunity.
And see, and then that's what I really want to touch too, because you have the DJing and you have your position now. And then can you, if you can, tell what you're doing at the
I can tell what I'm doing, but I can't say the station.
Okay.
But I can tell what I'm doing.
Okay.
I'm a digital content producer, so I do work in digital.
Okay.
And I also do on air, so I have a great hybrid position because, you know, digital platforms, that's like that's the thing now. But then I also have the capability of being like lifestyle and entertainment. So I pretty much decided, like, I'm in this place with all these talented people, and I am in a top 10 market. Like, these people have years and years and years of experience. Who am I? I don't know what I'm doing. Once again, if you don't know what you're doing, pretend like you know what you're
Pretend
doing,
like you know.
and then you eventually will know what you're doing. So that's kind of, you know, that's exactly how
mindset
I went in. And I had
Right.
been, you know, I had never had like a TV job before, but I have, you know, worked in front of the camera. Like I've done like, you know, 106 in Park and Wendy Williams and things like that. So
Right.
I've done things like that, but I'd never, you know, done the actual, this is me, this is my story. So I'm like, all right, I'm in this place. Now I need to figure out how I can make my mark in here.
Right.
And that's when I decided that I just wanted to do a bunch of like nutso things.
Mm-hmm.
So I get on TV and I skydive and I climb buildings and do all, because I'm like, what can I do that people aren't doing? And nobody's doing that.
Nobody.
So regardless.
I'm so surprised. I'm like, what is she doing?
Because I like to do weird things. So I'm like, well, if I like to do weird things, and hopefully I'll be able to do them. If not, it'll be funny that I can't do them. So that's kind of, you know, what it turned into. I linked up with another one of the reporters, and here we are just, you know, out doing nutso things. I did my first solo skydive, which was terrifying, but not as terrifying as rappelling from off of a building. That was one of the scariest things I've ever done, and I will never do it again. I still skydive. Like that's become like a habit, but I'm not getting on the side of a building and rappelling. And doing it's just something about it's just, I don't know.
That is a lot. Oh, well, thank you so much. I'm like really, y'all, she skydives, she's a DJ, and she works, you know, at a station, another station, you know, we can't say it. But just all of this, it just really shows that everything that you put your heart and your mind into is achievable, and she's doing it. And then, I don't know, is this it for you? I'm pretty sure she has other things that she's got going that she's going to want to do.
That's the thing that I always said, like, because people always, they when you look at people, you assume, and you never really know, you know, what someone's going through, or, you know, I always say it's like public success, private struggles. Like they never know. They always just see the end results. And at the end of the day, I know like regardless, I worked like super hard, you know, and nothing was, you know, handed to me. I literally worked my tail off or whatever it is. So I know that I have that, you know, hustle experience, and that I can go and take that with me. So I do, you know, I was talking about LA and New York. I want I want to end up there because I want to do like entertainment news, and I want to do movies, things like that. So hopefully that'll be the next journey. Next thing you know, I'm gonna call you. I have all my stuff in my car. I am driving to LA. No.
See, and that is gonna be next. And I wish you the best on everything.
Thank you.
And I'm so excited that you came again. I know I keep saying that, but I'm really grateful that you did come out to the show and shared your story.
Thank you so much for interviewing me. You're great. You're great. Thank you.
And I hope you all were inspired as well. Don't forget to go on, if you missed previous episodes, you can always view them on my website, www.proverbsbeauty.com, or if you're interested in being on the show and want to share your story, you can contact me at proverbsbeauty31@gmail.com, and you can reach me there. And then also, if you are interested to close out, I'm always looking for singers, guests, other artists. If you have a talent that you want to share, yes, if you do, please let me know. And thank you so much for joining me. And always remember, there is a beautiful me and you. You are God's beauty inside and out. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Professional.